Today on the Commanders Report, ESPN puts out an article praising the OTA performance of rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels. I'll let you know what Commanders reporter for ESPN, Kein, had to say to kick off today's show. Then we'll get into a new trade idea from Fanduel, which sends Brandon Aiyuk to the Washington Commanders, so make sure you guys stick around for that trade idea. Before we get into today's news and rumors coverage for your Washington Commanders, make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now to help make this video the best it can possibly be. The real ones know that clicking that thumbs up icon is the easiest way to help out today's show, because it tells the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to other Commanders fans like yourselves. So if you're a fan of the channel, you want to help us out today, make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now. So let's get into what ESPN's Kein had to say about Jayden Daniels, kind of heaping more praise on the rookie quarterback and how, non-rookie-like he was looking during Commanders OTAs this year. This is what Kein had to say. Daniels never looked overmatched or confused during spring practices, which is a key reason the Commanders had him working exclusively with the first group in the mandatory minicamp. Daniels impressed teammates and coaches with how prepared he was, a byproduct in part of showing up every day at 5:45 a.m. for film work and his own walkthrough session. But he looked sharp throwing the ball with anticipation and in how he has gone through his progressions. So far, he is exactly the player they thought they had drafted. And this is echoing exactly what we've been telling you right here on the Commanders Report over the last several weeks. We've been just breaking down the report saying this kid looks legit, man, and he looks like the real deal. And he looks like, that 1 year at LSU, even though he had Brian Thomas Jr., even though he had Malik Neighbors, even though he had a pretty darn good offensive line, even though he had a lot of things going around him that were successful, a lot of his success last year was because of him and not just because of his surrounding cast. You take a look at my scouting report on Daniels when we were during the draft process here. I think that he's a potential superstar quarterback because he pairs a very rare combination, guys, of dynamic rushing ability with also an ability to beat you from the pocket. Touch passing, good pocket footwork, clean throwing mechanics, gets the ball out of his hand quickly, and the mental processing is also pretty darn good. Now, the things that he needs to improve on is that he needs to become a better playmaker outside of the pocket as a passer. Usually, Jayden, when he's leaving the pocket, when he's working outside of structure, he's using his legs. And, I think that he needs to be a little bit more of a playmaker with his arm and be more of a scrambler and kind of, balance out the running with the passing when it comes to his scrambling ability, because that's going to keep him safer and it's going to keep his body fresh throughout his career. And then also, he's needed to get bigger. He's pretty darn skinny last year at LSU. He is absolutely taking care of that concern for me. He looks like he has added quite a few pounds here this offseason, and he's done a really good job at bulking up in preparation for his rookie season. And really, man, I can't wait to see what Jayden Daniels is going to look like in his first season. Now, he's going to, I think, have one of the worst offensive lines in front of him in the league. And, I think that's just me looking at it from an objective standpoint. Cornelius Lucas has never been a full-time starter. Nick Allegretti has never been a full-time starter in the league. We don't know if Andrew Wiley is going to get any better this year at right tackle. And there's not a whole lot of other options at tackle either if the starting options aren't really getting it done. You have Brandon Coleman, but he had a bad year last year at TCU, and he didn't have a good Senior Bowl week. Tested well, but there's definitely question marks surrounding Brandon Coleman. So Jayden is looking good in shorts, but there isn't a pass rush going after him, right? And I think we're really going to find out just how good Jayden Daniels is going to be once we see NFL pass rushes go up against this offensive line and they put pressure on him for real in the National Football League. So listen, it's great that Jayden is doing a good job in shorts, and I think it's important that we go over reasonable expectations for this kid heading into his rookie year. I think a lot of people, because, Jayden is getting praised by a lot of people right now in OTAs, they're saying this guy's going to have a C.J. Stroud type season. He's going to win Rookie of the Year for sure. And some Commanders fans are even expecting a playoff berth this year. And listen, I think the playoffs are a possibility, especially if Jayden really balls out this year. But at the end of the day, I think my expectation is kind of outside of overall record and wins and losses. My expectation is that Jayden, progresses throughout the season. He shows flashes of, good mental processing, anticipation, touch passing down the field, and a good connection with his receivers, plus good pocket presence. I want to see evidence on film that he could be a potential superstar quarterback moving forward. And listen, if they make the playoffs, great, but if they don't, that's not necessarily a marker as to how successful Jayden Daniels' rookie season is going to end up being. Now, let me know, over or under, down there in the comment section, will Jayden get over or under 24.5 total touchdowns? So that's passing and rushing. Over or under 24.5 touchdowns this year. Type O if you think over, or type U if you think under. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to be talking about our friends at Fanatics. But before I get into that, or when I'm doing that, go down there in the comment section and to give me an O or a U to let me know over or under 24.5 touchdowns for Jayden Daniels this year. Speaking of Jayden Daniels, you can get his brand new, officially licensed Commanders jersey when you go use our link, chatsports.com/Daniels today. And guys, if you're looking to get a Jayden Daniels jersey, been thinking about getting one, but you also want to help out the channel here, this is your opportunity to do so and kill two birds with one stone, because when you use our link, chatsports.com/Daniels, put that link in the comments and description of today's show, and then you make a purchase, Fanatics is going to send us some of the proceeds. So we really appreciate all of your support, guys. Go to chatsports.com/Daniels today to get a Jayden Daniels Commanders jersey in your closet just in time for the 2024 season. So now let's get into FanDuel's Brandon Aiyuk trade idea. Yesterday, we talked about how Brandon Aiyuk called Jayden Daniels to tell him that the 49ers apparently don't want him anymore, which is pointing to some very recent trade rumors surrounding Brandon Aiyuk to the Commanders. And, I don't think it's impossible that the Commanders could land Aiyuk. I wouldn't put them at the top of my list of potential Aiyuk destinations. But FanDuel put out this potential trade idea here that would send Brandon Aiyuk to the nation's capital in exchange for just a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and Dyami Brown, who has been a disappointment to this point in his career. Okay, this is a really good offer for the Washington Commanders, man. Let me know down there in the comments section if you would take this trade. Type A if you'd accept, or type D for decline. Let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comments. And for me personally, guys, for that price, I am 100% accepting that offer. All I have to give up is a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a disappointing receiver for a second-team All-Pro. I mean, sign me up. I know that you would have to pay Aiyuk $30 million in order to make that deal happen. But listen, man, for that price, you're getting an excellent wide receiver who, by the way, already has established chemistry with Jayden Daniels with their time together at Arizona State. They trained together during the offseason. These guys are like best friends. If you're going to add a wide receiver to this wide receiver room, if you're the Commanders, there's no better option out there on the open market than Brandon Aiyuk. He's still only 26 years old. He's coming fresh off a second-team All-Pro season. He's had 1,000 yards receiving over the last 2 seasons. And I hear some people, on Twitter saying, this guy's only had 1 All-Pro season. How does he think that he's worth $30 million? Well, I mean, in 2022, he played pretty darn well as well. He had more touchdowns. He didn't have as many yards, and he didn't average the same amount per catch, but he had more catches overall. He was still playing like a really good receiver in 2022. And by the way, he was still playing really well in 2021 and 2020. This guy's been a legit receiver for a very long time. He is a legit number 1 receiver in this league. And I do think he's worth $30 million on his next contract. But here's the thing, guys. I don't think that this happens because I don't think that the price is right when it comes to this, because I just don't think the 49ers would take this deal, plain and simply. And listen, if Brandon comes out and he's like, trade me away, I'm demanding a trade, that does lower the leverage for the 49ers. I'm not saying it doesn't. But the reality of the situation is, San Francisco is going to get multiple suitors for Aiyuk if he demands a trade, okay? So it's not like there's only going to be one suitor and Washington can be like, you either pay our price or, we're not offering any more, and you have to take the deal. No, there's going to be other teams that are going to be vying for Aiyuk's services, so you're going to have to outbid those other teams. And I think what the price will probably look like is probably something more like this. Swap out that 4th-round pick for another 2nd-round pick in 2026. I think that San Francisco is probably going to ask for a 1st-round pick at some point. Not sure if they'll get that, especially if Brandon ends up demanding a trade, but I think this is pretty fair in terms of compensation here that could land Brandon Aiyuk with the Commanders. But like I said, I think there's other teams that are very wide receiver needy at this point, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, for example, Jacksonville, some other teams out there that I think might be willing to offer more. Now, before I go here, I do have some final Commanders news items to cover with you guys that I wanted to discuss. First one being training camp report dates were reported today. They were officially released. The rookies will go July 18th. You guys can see Mike Sainristil right there. And then the veterans are going to be coming in July 23rd. They're going to have 7 practices this year that are open to the public. So let me know down there in the comment section if you plan on attending a Commanders practice during training camp this year. And then also PFF and their betting platform here, it came out with the latest. Actually, this is from DraftKings, plus 260 to make the playoffs for the Washington Commanders. Now, if you don't know betting terms, and it's not the best line in the world, it's definitely not among the higher teams in the league, but it's definitely not terrible, especially for a team that had the number 2 overall pick in this year's NFL draft. I mean, a plus 260 line to potentially make the playoffs this year, I think, is pretty optimistic and pretty hopeful for the Washington Commanders as we approach year 1 of the Dan Quinn and Jayden Daniels era here in Washington. And I'll say this right now, guys, if Jayden Daniels really does translate that success that he's had during OTAs into the season, and hell, if the offensive line plays better than, I'm expecting them to this year, I mean, anything's possible when it comes to the postseason play, okay? I do think that, lots of things need to happen for the Commanders to really be a legit playoff contender this year. But at this point, man, 7 teams make the playoffs in each conference, all right? So that's about a 50-50 shot to make the postseason here. So Commanders, I think that, if I'd had to set the line, I'd probably have it a little bit lower than plus 260. But overall, man, if this offensive line plays well and Jayden ends up playing well, anything is possible for the first year here of the Dan Quinn era. Now, what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Will the Commanders make the playoffs this year? I don't think that they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think that this is necessarily a year where you feel like you have to make the playoffs. I'm looking for growth. I'm looking for team culture being built. I'm looking for optimism for the future. They make the playoffs, great, but I'm not necessarily expecting a Houston Texans-like run this year. But let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comments section. That'll be it for today's show, guys. I really do appreciate all of the support you give to the channel. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already for more Commanders content all throughout the 2024 offseason.